Palestinian state. We're not talking about a Bantustan. A Palestinian state is not the issue. The issue is it viable? Is it sovereign? Does it, 60% of the Palestinians are under the age of 18. If there isn't a viable state with an economy, with territorial coherency, that's a real state, it's a prison. So we can't just say, well, that's not really important. No, it is important. And it was put there for a reason. Every settlement has its strategic reason. It's at a junction. It's on a hilltop. It separates Palestinian cities or towns. It sits atop the largest water aquifer. It guards the border. There's always a reason why that settlement is there, and the reason is to foreclose a viable Palestinian state. The roads. This is a new road being built in Jerusalem with a wall down the center. On one side of the road is Palestinian traffic. On the other side of the road is Israeli traffic. Even in the days of apartheid South Africa, you did not have separate roads for blacks and whites, or walls in between the roads. House demolitions. Like I said, at least 25,000 homes demolished in the occupied territory since 1967. And not for security. There's no security element here. The people whose homes were demolished were not terrorists. They weren't accused of anything. They never did anything. They're simply people either whose homes were in the way of a military incursion, like in Gaza. Those 30,000 homes or 20,000 homes weren't targeted. They didn't belong to people that had done anything, any security offense. They were simply in the field of battle. Collateral damage, we call them. Or, like here, they're homes of Palestinians who want to build homes on their own land, but aren't given building permits. For 41 years, Israel has denied building permits to Palestinians. So here's a fellow, Salim Shawamri, who's been with me on a speaking tour in Los Angeles. His house has been demolished 4 times. Here he is by his house. If he's a terrorist, why isn't he in jail? Because he isn't. He's just a fellow that wants a home for his family. And he's not able to have a home because he can't get a building permit. And like tens of thousands of Palestinians, has his home demolished. Or lives under the threat of demolition. So here's Salim, no security threat, nothing ever charged to him. So it raises the question, wait a minute. Israel says everything it does has to do with security. It's defending itself against terrorism, right? That's the line. Well, what's happening here? Why was this guy's house demolished? If it wasn't for security, then something else is going on here that they're not telling us. If you can't explain this by security, what explains it? What explains it, of course, is a proactive policy of trying to either drive the Palestinians out or confine them to cantons. And the final element is the wall. And the wall is not a security barrier. It was never conceived as a security barrier. The wall is called the separation barrier. Michshol hafrada in Hebrew. We call our policy towards the Palestinians apartheid. That's the official Israeli name for our policy is apartheid. We simply say it in Hebrew instead of in Afrikaans. Hafrada. Hafrada means apartheid. That's the name of our policy. The name of the wall is the separation barrier, not the security barrier. And you can see, if you just look at the root of it, that it's not for security. It doesn't go along the border. Instead, as you can see, it hugs areas A and B, the cantons that we want to give unilaterally to the Palestinians. And when it hits a settlement block, it goes around the settlement block. You see, you can't tell me that the wall is out here for security. The wall has two purposes. One is to define the cantons of the Palestinian Bantustan, and the other is to incorporate the settlement blocks into Israel. The wall is more than twice as high as the Berlin Wall was. The Berlin Wall was 12 feet high. The Israeli wall is 26 feet high. The wall is 5 times longer than the Berlin Wall was. And the Berlin Wall was linear. The Israeli wall literally imprisons tens of thousands of Palestinians in cells. This is the city of Tulkarm. 70,000 people, completely surrounded by a wall, with one exit and entrance controlled by the Israeli army. And tens of thousands of Palestinians are confined inside their neighborhoods or their villages. And the wall, ironically, does not separate Jews from Palestinians, as you would expect if it was a security barrier. Look, the wall goes right through the heart of a Palestinian community. Here's a grandmother in Bethlehem. Her grandchildren live here in Beit Jala. And here's the wall going right through the center of the community. There's no Israelis at all in this picture. You know, Jews don't have a very positive association with walls. It's not one of the better parts of our history. So we build the walls deep into Palestinian areas to give us feelings of freedom and open spaces. After all, we want to imprison them. We don't want to imprison ourselves. And so the wall is built deep in the heart of Palestinian areas. The wall goes through courtyards of schools. This is a high school in the town of Anata, near Jerusalem, where the wall goes right through the schoolyard, and the basketball hoops on the other side. Here the wall goes through Abu Dis. No Israelis in miles and miles of this picture. Where's the security? If you have Palestinians on both sides of the wall, I mean, that's security? Supposing you need security? No, the wall is not for security, it's a border. But look, this is Al-Quds University. The wall goes through the center of the campus of a major Palestinian university, and not the only university. Last year, when the British Union of Teachers called for an academic boycott of Israeli universities, there was outrage. I heard that the chancellor of this university, or the president or whatever, wrote a letter of outrage, violation of academic freedom. Hundreds of American university presidents sent letters of outrage to the British Union of Teachers, and Nobel Prize winners, and professors. There's a wall for years now, going through the center of a Palestinian university. Where's the outrage? Why isn't this a major issue on American college campuses? And I'll go further. On the second day of the invasion of Gaza, Israel destroyed the Islamic University. The university of 17,000 students was bombed. Did you hear any outrage? Did anybody in this campus write a letter? Hopefully there were some, because there were some protesters, especially an organization called FIP, Faculty for Peace, for Israel-Palestine Peace. There were some academics that spoke out. But none of the academics assigned a letter of outrage to the British Union of Teachers. Why? Why are Israeli academic institutions sacred in terms of academic freedom and not Palestinian universities? And the wall goes on, so that in the rural areas it becomes a fence. A fence with sensors, patrol roads, trenches, secondary fences. You can imagine the environmental and economic damage that this does in a small country. Multiply this by 450 miles.